Hello everyone, welcome to 10QV. I'm Don Wiley. What is 10QV? 10 questions about the villages. Each episode, I'll meet with prominent and knowledgeable people here in the villages and the surrounding community, and I'll ask them 10 questions, and I'll get straight and factual answers to issues of importance here in the villages, and we'll try and disprove a few myths, misinformation, and urban legends about the villages. I hope you enjoy the show. Let's get started with this episode. Hi, I'm Don Wiley, and this is 10QV. Today we have a special episode. Today we have Villages Public Safety Chief, Chief Cain, and District Manager Richard Baier on 10QV. The topic of today's show is the ambulance service here in the villages and Sumter County, and the process that's ongoing with the county government to address the slow response. Today, again, we have Chief Cain. Chief, thank you for joining us. Mr. Baier, thank you for joining us again.
Thank you for inviting us. Thank you.
So, a lot is going on with Villages Public Safety and the Sumter County Fire Department. And so, what's the basic problem here? Can you give it to us, the short version of this, Chief?
Sure. Earlier this year, the Sumter County Commission proposed 10 options for the purpose of reviewing the current public safety structure in an effort to improve patient outcomes throughout Sumter County. So that created a ad hoc committee to review the current provider of transport in Sumter and to evaluate the fire department response within the county.
I think, if I can add, I think one of the big things that we heard from the public and we heard from the county was the transport times, and that was really in the nut, that was the core issue.
Transport times, I thought that was the issue, yes, and somehow this has morphed into, you know, when you look at the 10 options that were presented, let's get rid of the village's fire department, let's make it all one, and to me, that makes no sense. We're an urban fire department here, correct? And that's a rural fire department. You have different needs, different priorities, and certainly the villages as a community has its own set of unique needs, being, you know, senior citizens, average age, they're 67 years old. So our needs are much different, and I think our fire department here in Villages Public Safety is much more equipped to deal with our needs. So at the ad hoc meeting this past Wednesday, they recommended keeping both fire departments.
Yes, sir.
But then they came up with, they want to have the county take over the ambulance service. And I can't help but think, isn't that what's already happening? The county is running the ambulance service. Yes, it's a contractor. How is this going to help us? Chief, what's your opinion on this?
You're correct. The county's suggestion the other night was to not consolidate the two fire departments, the villages and Sumter County Fire, into one department throughout the county. As you stated a moment ago, there are vast differences between both departments. As you stated, the villages is more of an urban department. Sumter County is a rural department. Each department has its unique needs that they wanted to provide to the public. There were, as you stated, 10 resolutions in front of the board. In those resolutions, 5 out of the 10 were to remove the village's Department of Public Safety and consolidate into the county. And you are correct, there is a third service that is contracted with Sumter County to provide transport, and they've had that contract for the last 10 years. In addition, they are a private for-profit corporation. The county's recommendation after the vote last Tuesday night was to form a third service, ambulance service, that would be operated and overseen by the county. Obviously, it's not a private company. It would be operated by the county and come under the control of the county. the private company that is here now presently also has contractual agreements with the county and have had for 10+ years now. So there has been some control by the county and oversight of that system.
If the county's been providing oversight, how did we get into this situation with these long response times? Of the 10 options, option number 9
Yes, sir.
is the one that you, I, district staff, and most of the residents that I've talked to and heard from, well, both in the meetings and out on the street, are all in favor of option 9. Can you explain to everybody what option 9 is?
I had recommended approximately 2 meetings back at the Ad-hoc, after they had basically stated that they were looking strongly at consolidating the 2 departments within the county. My proposal to the Ad-hoc committee was to go with option 9. The other 5 options basically were, for lack of better words, we're going to abolish the village's public safety completely. As I recommended to the group, I would have gone only with option 9. Now, this option calls for both fire departments to be involved in transports of patients throughout Sumter County. As I stated to the committee that night that I offered option 9 on the table, it has to be an effort between both Sumter County Fire and the village's fire. Both departments are going to have to help each other out for the coverage throughout the county. So that was my recommendation, and it has been my recommendation at several of those ad hoc committee meetings when I was asked about it.
I just want to add that I think it's so important that the population demographics here, as you mentioned, are very different than in the remaining portion of the county outside the villages. And the way that we provide our services is very different insofar as our village's public safety department. The programs that we offer, and Chief can expand upon these, the AED program, the in-house smoke detector change-out program, the car seat right sizing program, when all of the grandchildren and children come and visit their relatives in the villages that reside here, getting that in the car correctly. All of those programs are so important to us, and we want to continue that. We actually believe that people have chosen this branded lifestyle living in the villages, not just for the recreation, although superior, not just for the aesthetics, although superior, but also because of the public safety, fire and EMS services, which again are superior.
And I'll just add on to Richard's comments. The public has moved here, as Richard said, because they want the best of the best, whether it's the amenities, the fire department, obviously. My staff over the years has done a tremendous job of customer service, and they've gone the extra mile with our community, whether they're visitors, residents. We have gone the extra mile to provide 100+% for the people that we are taking care of. As Richard stated, we have very unique programs here for the public, AEDs, that are positioned throughout communities and the public in the villages. I will tell you, last year, with the mixture of rapid response times, paramedics on every apparatus in the system, the AED communities, our cardiac arrest save rate, and we have a very unique way how we judge that, and that is if you walk out of the hospital, you are considered a save. Last year alone, our save rate was 15%. The national average was 10%. So you take those, the car seat programs, our smoke detector program. We saw a need many years ago that we needed to do something to help the public, was the changing of batteries and smoke detectors, changing them out. Unfortunately, we had people that were getting hurt at home from those events, so we came up with a methodology, we came up with a system. So that is a resource that we provide to the public free of charge, and it keeps people at home, it keeps them from having to go to the hospital.
There are some excellent programs, most certainly. So just how big is your department, Chief, Village of Public Safety?
The department spans approximately 90 square miles within the villages. We have 9 stations at this time. We have a staff of firefighters, of 150 firefighters in the department. We have 6 battalion chiefs, and we have an administrative staff of approximately 16 people. So each shift, there are 3 shifts within the department. There are 50 personnel on duty. There are 16 response units within the system, and this is made up of quick response QRVs, or quick response vehicles, that are non-transport, multiple aerial apparatus, multiple fire engines. I will tell you, those 16 units that are on duty each day, there is a minimum of 1 paramedic on those units. We are licensed by the state of Florida to provide pre-hospital care at the paramedic level. So we're there to stop the clot, stabilize the patient until a transport unit arrives on scene. In addition, we cover Lake County, parts of Marion County, Sumter County, Lady Lake, Fruitland Park, and soon-to-be Leesburg.
So looking at the size of your department, public safety, and another city, let's say in Florida, of the same population size, how does it compare? Is it a larger department?
We aren't comparable with a population similar to ours throughout the state. Station-wise, we're probably right at a baseline with the other cities in the system. I think one of the unique things here is we have the ability to plan the additional fire stations and be able to map those out as the construction before it starts actually, but we have that advantage of being able to plan and plot those stations in advance on the growth pattern.
And one of the things I think that is so important is when you look at the villages, population of about 135 to 140,000, depending on the census and where you actually have that boundary, and you compare it to like the city of Clearwater or the city of Largo. Clearwater is about 115,000 people. You would see that personnel-wise, we actually have a smaller staff ratio per capita. And that's, I think, something that we're very proud of, that we can actually deliver a service with a much leaner, if you will, flatter staff line. And I think that's very important. It also speaks to the planning, the SAFER grant that we were able to obtain. I know the chief will get into that in just a little bit, but the SAFER grant is something that is so important that has allowed us to beef up our response insofar as our staffed personnel on the actual moving rolling stock, and allowed us to provide a better response for our population here. So I think it's, I mean,
yes.
I don't know if you want to speak about
sure.
that.
We were extremely lucky this year. We applied for a SAFER grant. I had come up with a plan last year that we would add 9 additional personnel over the next 3 years, so 27 personnel over the next 3 years. The goal of that increase of staffing was to put a minimum staffing of 3 personnel on every one of our engines and aerial devices to bring us up to the NFPA requirements for staffing. Sumter has a minimum staffing of 2 personnel on an apparatus. So we applied for the SAFER grant. We were extremely lucky. We were awarded the grant of over $6 million for the next 3-year period, and we'll keep those personnel on after that. But that brought us up to enhanced staffing, which is extremely important on structured fire type incidences. It also plays a key role in very critical medical patients or auto accidents. So it provides us an effective task force for all types of situations within the villages and outside the villages that we respond to daily. In addition to not only covering the villages, we cover outside the boundaries of into Lake County, down into Leesburg. So we have an excellent working relationship with those surrounding departments and Sumter County Fire. To be quite honest with you, if you did not know the difference in the uniforms or the colors of the trucks, you would not see any issues on the scenes. All departments function extremely well, and it's, to be quite honest with you, we are probably running with those other departments, not only with Sumter, but the surrounding areas on a daily basis.
And the SAFER grant, the initial emphasis really was, Chief, if I recall, the grant application was to make sure that as we get on the scene first, we have enough appropriate personnel that can actually provide that early onset medical treatment. Because as we talked about just a minute ago, with the transport services, with the AMR, ambulance services contract that's managed solely by the county, most times in the villages, at least, normally you're first on scene, your staff.
Yes, sir. Our average response time within the district is about 4 minutes. So yes, at times with critical patients, it's extremely important to the patient's outcome that there's extra hands on location. And we have had waiting times for the transport units anywhere from 20 minutes plus. So that additional staff is allowing us the ability to function as a team, to provide a higher level of care and continuity to that patient. I will also tell you with that SAFER grant, it will strongly reflect on our ISO rating in the next review period. And the ISO, for people that are not familiar with, are applied to your insurance rating. The lower the number, and it goes from 10 to 1, the better discount you have both on residential and commercial property. With the addition of the staff, that enhances our effective task force responding to a structure fire. By NFPA requirements, we are to be putting 14 people on the first 8 minutes of a structure fire. So we're effectively getting there on time, having an effective task force, which in turn decreases the amount of property damage to that structure.
And the SAFER grant also, my recollection in the application, is that as we actually have the ability to expand our QRV, our quick response vehicles, and you already have several of those, Chief, we will be utilizing that staff as well with those quick response vehicles, depending on the outcome decision of Sumter County. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. We may have to look at a few, but we can utilize those personnel. There are approximately 7 QRVs in the fleet now that respond to calls. They are staffed with paramedic firefighters, EMT firefighters, so they can augment that initial task force in certain situations.
So you've mentioned QRVs, quick response vehicles. I know what a fire truck is, a big red thing. Can you take us out into the garage here and show us these vehicles so that the residents have a better feel for what we're doing?
We can do that, sure.
Folks, we're going to step outside and we'll be right back.
This is one of our quick response rescue units that is non-transport within the system. We have multiple of these units throughout the villages. They provide both fire protection and paramedic services to the residents of the villages. We were able to get to scenes a little quicker with these vehicles. They have multiple tasks that they can perform, as they stated, not only for fire protection, but medical calls. It carries a wide variety of equipment for treating patients, for doing extrication at auto accidents, plus fire suppression. So it's a multi-purpose unit. There are approximately 8 of these units throughout the villages, and they augment our fire response and medical responses throughout the villages. Some of the items that we carry on these particular units are utilized for both fire suppression and medical emergencies. We have a cardiac monitor here that also has the ability to defibrillate to correct life-threatening arrhythmias. In addition, we carry additional medical equipment. We also carry fire suppression equipment in this vehicle, chainsaws, air packs that they utilize at a scene, along with their special bunker gear that they utilize. We also have what's called a tick camera that provides us the ability to see inside a fire and to locate the seat of the fire or locate someone that may be trapped in the fire. This is basically a thermal imaging camera that the crews carry as they go entry into a structure. In addition, there is more fighting equipment that we carry. And additional fire equipment. So this is a multi-purpose vehicle. As as I stated, has the ability to do firefighting and medical responses. They do get to the scene a little bit quicker because of the size of the vehicle and the ability to move around in traffic in tight situations.
Well, thank you, Chief. That was very interesting. And we're back now. We're going to continue on with our questions. My first question, Chief, is AMR is saying one of their big problems with response time is offload time at the hospital. If you ask any of the residents, and they say they went to the Villages Regional Hospital or Lakeland Hospital, you know, it's an emergency. I'm here. I need to be seen. And what they end up getting is, it's an emergency. I'm going to sit here for 4 or 5 hours and not know what's going on. You know, AMR is saying that that's part of their problem with response. They can't get back out in the field after and offload their patients quick enough. So that's delaying their further response. If the Villages Fire Department takes over the ambulance service, won't we be facing the same exact issue? Because the issue is not so much, if this is true, the issue is not so much with the ambulance service, but with the hospital.
Yes, sir. We would probably have that same type of situation. We have already discussed game plans if we run into those situations with the hospitals. One suggestion that we could make to the hospital to assist that would be to bring off-duty staff in from the fire department to sit there and basically monitor those patients in the hallway, thus getting our equipment back out on the road where it needs to be. I would strongly suggest that we sit down and talk to the hospitals, the villages, in the villages, obviously, Leesburg Regional, which are the 2 transport points, probably the larger percentage of transports from the villages. We would sit down and talk to them, work as a team to come up with a protocol that we could actually charge the hospital after a period of time that we would have to be there to monitor those patients and assist with them in their peak periods at the hospitals. There are freestanding emergency rooms surrounding the villages. There's several. There are one just north of here. There's another one coming in to Bellevue. There are actually 2, one on 466 and one on State Road 44 within the boundaries of the villages. They can take certain type of patients, but I personally do not think they're being utilized to their full potential. And I think that we and the hospital would get together and basically do an educational program for the public so that they have a better idea of where they're going and why they're going and what services those freestanding emergency rooms can provide, as opposed to going to the emergency room and unfortunately probably getting into a very long waiting period within the hospital, in the hallway or wherever, before they can be seen. But I think it would take some education on both departments' parts and teaching the public the roles and responsibilities of those particular facilities.
So Chief, in the current contract, which is managed by Sumter County solely, it really is up to the provider of that service to come up with a plan to meet the terms of the contract.
Yes, sir. There are several parts of that contract that the county monitors. There's fines for response times. There's fines for hospital stays. To be very honest with you, I could not tell you if those fines have been imposed or not been imposed. We have never been provided with any statistical data on the operations of that particular service, AMR, in the 10 years that they've been in Sumter County.
Wow, it seems like we should have that information, especially in light of the recent action where they reset the standards for what their response time is. AMR's other big problem, they say, is staffing. They can't get people to staff the vehicles, to move as many patients as they need to. If the bodies don't exist, how is moving the ambulance services from a private contractor to village's public safety going to change it? If the bodies don't exist, they don't exist. How are you going to address that?
Well, we have a unique situation. We have 7 quick response units. Right now, they're staffed with 2 personnel. They have a large amount of equipment on them that could be transferred to a transport unit. And so we could basically utilize those QRVs in different locations, or we could actually replace them as transport ambulances within the system. We would have to do an analysis about adding additional units. I really can't comment on AMR staffing issues. I really don't have any privy to that. But like I said, we could have the ability to provide transport units. AMR functions on a different type service. It's called System Status Management. And this is where they monitor peak times of the day, peak times of the week, and they staff accordingly their units. So for example, on a Wednesday at 4 in the afternoon, you could have 6 to 8 ambulances on duty. On that same Thursday morning at 4 a.m., you could have 3 ambulances on in the county. So it's a calculation system, as I said, that bases everything on call density and time of day. So it's not really staffing like the fire department does, which is 24/7 with the same amount of units continuously. As I stated earlier, we have 50 personnel on staff every day, 16 units. So that functions 7 days a week.
And Don, if I could, one of the things that I think is important and the difference is when you're talking about a basic medical delivery service, it's different when you're trying to hire people that are coming into contractual obligation as a contractor. We use many contractors, but when you're talking about an important service like this, and you're looking at a government attracting people with the governmental stability that we have, and you're looking at a contractor that has a limited term contract, it's very different when people seek employment. And I would say also that that's a benefit when you look at the villages and you look at people's impression of the villages and people that live here, the way that the government, the district government, is able to attract people is because people want to work here. They see the quality level of work, they see the environment they work in, and they know the stability of the villages as an entity and a district government.
And I will also say, Don, to what Richard said, our average employee has been here anywhere from 7 to 8+ years. So they're here as an investment, they're part of the family. And there's other benefits that they enjoy working for the villages. Charter school is the primary advantage. But I have people that are driving an hour and a half to 2 hours each shift. I have people coming from Tampa, St. Pete, that have been here probably for 6+ years. But as Richard said, they enjoy the environment here, they enjoy the public they work with on a daily basis, and they're committed to stay here.
Chief, at the ad hoc meeting on the 4th, you were supposed to speak, and then all of a sudden, you were taken off the agenda. Can you tell us what happened, why that happened?
I had been asked at the prior meeting by the ad hoc committee to come back to the next meeting and present some information on a 191 fire special taxing district. Everything was agreed on, and the week prior I received notice from the county that I had been removed from the agenda, and that Mr. Arnold felt that a 191 fire district was not the privy of the ad hoc committee to basically look at. So that is how I was removed and not asked to speak on that agenda item.
Obviously, it is a relevant issue. I don't think anybody that would disagree that it's not relevant to the issue of how we run the fire stations, and if we're looking at incorporating ambulance service, all these things are very important. Can you give us the highlights of what you were going to say? Now, folks, Chief's going to give us the highlights of what he's going to say, and at the end of this video, Chief is going to give us his full presentation, so you'll be able to watch the full presentation that was supposed to be given to the ad hoc committee, so that you get a good idea of where Chief Cain and the villages is coming from in this process. So Chief, give us the highlights, if you would, please.
So We had looked into a 191 fire control district, which are very prevalent within Florida. You will find the majority in the north end of the state and the south end. One of the closest special fire districts near the villages is Reedy Creek Fire Department, which is basically Disney World. So we looked at the independent fire district as a way to be able to control our funds, to function on our own, and provide enhanced service to the public. We are, as I stated earlier, in 3 different counties. So we have a good working relationship with several of those counties, but we wanted where we could be in control of our own destiny, and answer to the board of the villages.
And just, if I can, one of the things that is important is, as Chief has already gone on record as supporting option 9, which retains both the fire department for Sumter County as well as in the villages and the ability to transport with each of those departmental entities, the independent fire district, we're putting out information, sharing information. The chief has not presented this to the BCCDD board, nor have I, although I've had conversations with various people that have asked me questions. But we feel it's important for the public to understand what all the options are. We also think it's important, as this was raised to the county earlier this year, that the county actually consider all the options. As the village residents pay their rooftop, fire fee, and as they pay their taxes, both of which, along with a small portion of their amenity fees, support the village's public safety department, we think it's important that they understand the financial part and the governance end as well of what could be and what currently exists.
So Richard, on this proposed fire district, we're talking about a new tax. Anytime we start talking about a tax or a fee, which is really just a tax, different topic, sorry, it always gets my attention quickly. So would this additional tax, or this new tax, if you will, to support the fire district, would this be in addition to the $124 a year rooftop fee that they wanted to raise the limit to $360 earlier this year?
Well, let me just step back for a second. So normally what I'm accustomed to in other cities is that the fire fee funds the full freight of the fire cost of delivery of that fire service. In Sumter County, we have the general ad valorem tax basis, of which when the taxes were raised by 25%, VPSD was in the first presentation as being one of the critical issues that was part of the basis of that. So there is a certain acknowledgement that the criticality of VPSD, given the growth of the villages and the demographics, is very important to keep that level of service going. So you would have to actually rectify and take into account what the village residents are paying, and countywide, I would imagine as well, take a look at that, in their ad valorem taxes, as well as the fire fee. One would say that as certain revenue sources have been increased to fund the village's public safety department, as well as South Sumter, they would have to be reviewed and bifurcated, and the revenues actually then looked at as what is the delivery cost of that service. And you're correct, earlier this year, the county commission did discuss setting an upper limit maximum for a rooftop fire fee. That, of course, was not approved, but that was, I think, an attempt to go down that road and take a look at what the total funding cost was of that delivery of that service.
Okay. So basically, even if this $124 a year rooftop fee is eliminated, and we pay this fire assessment tax because we're paying into the general fund with our county property tax, village residents not only will be funding the village public safety department, but they'll still be funding the Sumter County Public Safety.
or Sumter County Fire Department. Is that a fair assessment?
I think that what would have to be done is a very detailed review with the county and the finance director and the county administrator and staff, and take a look at exactly what proportion of the ad valorem tax, the general fund, is supporting the village public safety department. Because what our goal would be as a district, and if an independent district was created, a special district, our goal would be to have a self-supporting district and make sure that there isn't that, as you're mentioning, double dipping occurring where residents are paying for it in their taxes and also as a fee. But we're a little ahead of ourselves. I mean, right now, we're trying to just get out information and say, this is a governance structure that is widely utilized throughout the state of Florida and could be utilized here as well when looking at the village's public safety model.
Okay. So I get it. Yeah, it's still a little early in the process. Nothing's really been decided yet. So talking about the village's public safety budget, how big is the budget approximately, and where do these funds come from? You alluded to some of it from the amenity fee. Can you give us a little more detail on that, please?
Sure. The budget for 2021 is approximately $22.1 million. These fees for the department are collected off of rooftops in Sumter County, Lake County, Fruitland Park. Fruitland Park has a slightly different variance on theirs because there is a CPI associated with their collections. As Richard said, there is also money that comes from the Sumter County General Fund. The amenity fees go towards part of the operations of the fire department, so there's multiple funds that are basically funding the department. There is an approximate $124 per rooftop in Sumter and Lady Lake, Lake County. As I said earlier, Fruitland Park is a little bit different where they have a CPI established onto their fee schedule.
Okay. So just for clarity, on the amenity fee, we keep talking about that, $4.08 every month of each amenity fee that's paid goes towards the village public safety budget. And that's what helps pay for the change in the smoke detector battery.
Enhanced services, that's right.
The enhanced services. To me, not stepping up on a ladder and changing out a smoke detector battery and risking a fall, it's pretty cheap. I think it's a good deal. I think it's money well invested, and I don't think many residents are going to disagree with that. So, if this fire district were established, would it encompass all three counties to bring everything under one roof, total fire department for the villages, or and I guess are the other counties on board with this, Lake and Marion County?
So this would have to be a legislative action, and we would have to actually craft the legislation such that the sponsoring jurisdictions are supportive of it. So Florida Statute 191, without going through the entirety of the statute, it lays out how a special independent taxing district is set up, but it would be a legislative action.
Okay. So it's going to be a lengthy process to make something like this
Yes,
happen.
sir.
So obviously, again, establishing this fire district is a big process, and there's a lot of moving pieces in this puzzle. Would you envision that district staff, purchasing, and budget and finance, as well as some of the other departments, play the similar role that they do with the CDDs as far as the village's public safety?
We would utilize the same sort of economy of scale that we do across all the districts, where we don't bring on additional staff. For example, there aren't 17 fire chiefs, one for each CDD. There aren't 17 finance directors. There's not 17 district managers per se. So the time is apportioned out per district. So the same staff would actually keep track of their time with the special taxing district and apportion their time out insofar as supporting from a finance, budget, administrative, fire administration, all of those.
So right now, the county has its own administrative staff that does a lot of this. Establishing a second fire, or the separate fire district, obviously there would be some overhead of these kind of people. So this would, by utilizing the district staff that's already there, even though it might take a few more bodies for the extra workload, it sounds like there'd be a substantial benefit and savings.
I think that's a safe bet.
Yes.
Yeah. So there's a lot of mutual cooperation between Villages Public Safety, Sumter County Fire Department, and the other fire departments on a day-to-day basis. Can you describe these, and do you think that this would change if a new fire district is established?
To answer your question, if there was a consolidation, would there be any issues with mutual aid responses? No, we have an excellent working relationship with Lake County, Sumter County, Marion County. We run on calls daily with each other. We work extremely well, so there would not be a breakaway, or that would not be dissolved. Those agreements and those operations would continue on as they do today.
And I think our goal is to work seamlessly with the county. Our goal is to provide the highest level of service, and that's where I think the VPSD is quite a bit different, because the services that we provide, that we mentioned earlier, and also the recognition of the unique demographics and the need for the advanced medical delivery of services, I think is a difference that we see with Sumter County. Insofar as our population, the vast majority of calls, well over 98%, are medical calls. And that's why this transport issue, and also that's why the delivery of the EMT paramedic services on the truck themselves, that normally today get there first, many minutes before the transport vehicles from the contracted company. That's why the delivery of service is so important in our unique population. We're not a population like other communities where we have an average age of 35 or 40. We're a population, if you look at the census, of nearly 70 years old in Sumter County. We're the oldest of over 3,000 counties, not including all the parishes and other boroughs, but 3,000 counties across the United States. Plus, we're the oldest demographically. And what I think the recognition of that special service delivery is so important.
Well, this has been very interesting, gentlemen. Obviously, the fire district is something that's down the road that hopefully can be worked through. We still have the whole ambulance issue that's not resolved with the county yet. That's their job at this point to resolve it. Where can villages and Sumter County residents go to get more information, and what can they do to ensure that their concerns and needs are understood by those making the decision? Chief?
We have a large amount of printed information at our front desk. You can go onto our website. You can go onto the Sumter County website. One thing that we have been very happy with, the other day we did an open house at this station, and we're going to be doing some more open houses at other fire stations within the district in the next few weeks. If you need information of where those are, you can go to our website. You can call here. We're more than happy to get information to you and provide you information on the phone. The one thing that we were very impressed with the other night at the last ad-hoc committee meeting was we had well over 400 people in attendance to that meeting, so we appreciate the public support 100% of the department.
And I think this is a very complex issue. This isn't an easy issue for people to follow. Certainly, the District Weekly Bulletin has had updates relating to the open houses, and that's a self-select service where you can sign up for it on our website, districtgov.org. You can also call customer service, 753-4508. You can call fire admin. Attendance at the meetings the next August 10th meeting of the BOCC and their second meeting in August and September. They're important. They want to know what you think. Just like when we have issues, the district board supervisors want to know what the public thinks before they make a decision. The ad hoc task force will be wrapping up, so they're going to have their last meeting on the 18th. And so that'll be either their last or one of their last meetings. It's important to attend those meetings. Both the BOCC meetings and the ad hoc task force meetings are at 7 p.m. The BOCC meets at the Everglades Recreation Center, and the ad hoc task force meets at the Wildwood Community Center on Powell Road, also at 7 p.m.
Obviously, as more information becomes available, I'll also address it here on 10QV. Gentlemen, I want to thank you for your time. Before we leave, I just want to remind people that following the closing of this episode, the video will continue with Chief Cain's full presentation that was supposed to be given to the ad hoc committee this past Wednesday. Chief, Richard, thank you once again for joining me. I appreciate your time. I appreciate the effort that went into this. I'm Don Wiley, and this has been 10QV. Thanks for watching.
Good afternoon. My name is Edmund Cain. I'm the Fire Chief with the Villages Department of Public Safety. Today we're going to talk about independent special fire control districts, or as in Florida known as 191 taxing districts. This will pertain to the Villages Department of Public Safety. As you are aware, the Villages spans 3 counties: Lake, Sumter, Marion County, the cities of Lady Lake, Fruitland Park, soon to be Leesburg, and Wildwood. We cover approximately 90 square miles of the villages. So we have a population base of over 134,000 residents, a daytime population of an additional 10,000 people that either work or travel through the boundaries of the villages. Our estimated population density is 1,357 people per square mile within the villages, over 65,000 rooftops within the villages. We are an urban community with suburban areas and rural areas outside the boundaries of the villages. The Villages Public Safety Department is an all-hazards career fire department protecting the largest single-site residential real estate development and largest retirement community in the United States. Villages Public Safety provides services that are common to most fire departments across the country. We provide a full range of services to the public, to our residents and visitors who come to the villages on a daily basis. We provide fire suppression, technical rescue, smoke prevention programs that include changing of smoke detector batteries, 911 emergency calls, and emergency management. In addition, we provide paramedic services, CPR and AED programs, and car seat installations. For our accreditation process that we are involved in, on the following slide, you will see the 3 most important items that our residents felt that we should address within the villages. Number 1 was emergency medical services. Number 2 was fire suppression. And number 3 was technical rescue. And you can see other items that they have listed in their survey. Florida Chapter 191, which is an independent service fire control act, provides standards, direction, procedures, and concerning operations of governance and independent special fire districts within the state of Florida. This provides a greater uniformity and independent special fire districts control district operations and authorities. It also provides a greater uniformity and financial authority for these independent fire districts, improved communication and coordination between special fire districts and other local governments with respect to short-range and long-term range planning to meet the service delivery demands. So, critical issues that have been identified. First critical issue, rapid growth of the district, being ahead of the growth. Second critical issue, different methodologies for each area that we cover for fire taxes throughout the district. Third critical issue, training of our staff. Fourth, dispatch user friendliness. Fifth critical issue, controlling factors from outside the district, medical control, SOPs, tactics, and command. Special districts in Florida as of December of 2020. Some examples of other special taxing districts within Florida. Probably the closest is known as Reedy Creek Fire Department, which is owned and operated by Disney World. Other districts within Florida, South Walton Fire Department, St. Lucie County, Manatee County, North Collier, East Naples, and just to list a few of those. So how do we create an independent taxing district? Steps to create an independent taxing district. Approval to move forward by the Villages Community Development District. Seeking a bill sponsored in Tallahassee through a legislative body. Present to the local legislative delegates. Hold a referendum of village residents within the boundaries of the villages to vote on the special taxing district. Other sections that will need to be reviewed in the independent taxing district is a funding model. This can be a mixture of revenue from non-ad valorem fire assessments, ad valorem property taxes, fees for service, to include residential amenity fees and intergovernmental revenue streams within the district. In summary, we will review the following items. Governance by a special independence commission board for the fire district. Funding would come from several different options, such as fire assessment and ad valorem taxes or impact fees. Assets that are currently owned by the district, with the exception of 2 fire stations that are leased from Sumter County. Personnel, additional retirement options available through the 191 potential enhancement retirement options. Jurisdictional boundaries. As the district grows, the boundaries of the fire control district will grow automatically. Benefits would include financial accountability and transparency, operational autonomy, continuation of current urban levels of service of the fire department to the public, reduced strain on the county general fund, greater uniformity in operations and authority through local control and oversight. Special fire districts collect and utilize revenue for one purpose: fire protection, fire services, and fire EMS services. Okay. Thank you very much. My name is Edmund Cain. I'm the Fire Chief with the Villages Department of Public Safety.